Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I am here to review the Netflix series, The Gentleman, by Guy Ritchie. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it should. One of my favorite movies of 2019 was also called The Gentleman, directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Matthew McConaughey. I love The Gentleman. First of all, Guy Ritchie is a dynamic director. He's always been a dynamic director. He's like, just look at some of his work, other than even The Gentleman, dude. Like, some of Guy Ritchie's projects are they're just fucking like punchy. They're just like bam, bam, bam. Like, stuff happens. Him and Quentin Tarantino are cut from that same, just like, cloth. Like, they say in Hollywood that, a lot of times scripts get like punch write-ups. Like, essentially, there's the base script, it's like, oh, this is the story, these are the beats. And then someone will come, and then they'll give it to someone and they'll come through and be like, all right, what if instead of him just punching him and knocking him out, he punches him, he punches him up and he goes to the ceiling. Like, that's like literally, that kind of shit. And they can do that with dialogue too. Like, instead of just calling him a coward, you can call him a bitch ass coward. Like, Quentin Tarantino and Guy Ritchie are really good at the punch. Now, Quentin Tarantino's good at doing that with dialogue, but Guy Ritchie, like, his script, often his movies are like, they start off as very simple, straightforward things, and then like the original Gentleman, for instance, it started off with just Mickey, aka Matthew McConaughey's character, just wanting to sell his business and get out of the game. That's it. And then it became this whole snowball of people shit that just like escalated out of control. Like, that's how Guy Ritchie movies are. It just kind of, and that's what The Gentleman Show is, basically. So, The Gentleman Show is very confusing. It's considered a spin-off because it takes place in the same world as the events of The Gentleman, but we don't know if it took place before or after. We don't know if Mickey sold the business or what. We don't know. No one from that show, no one from the original movie is mentioned or even brought up or even appears in the show. But the premise of there being a massive weed lab what's the word I'm looking for? Operation that's taking place underneath aristocratic housing across the nation, because that land is like something along the lines of like that land is like the government can't really touch that land, or no one can observe over that land and whatnot. Like so he built an entire weed operation underneath these aristocratic lands because they can't afford to keep these houses and all this land anyway. So he's paying them so they can keep their lifestyle, so he can use their land to farm his weed, which is a brilliant strategy. So, and in this show's about an aristocrat named Eddie. Now, Eddie was in the army. He kind of like ostracized from his family, but he really kind of like walked away from all the drama of all that aristocratic bullshit. Clearly, Eddie didn't want nothing really to do with all that high shit. Like, he's like, shit, I'd rather go in the army and get shot at than have to deal with all this bullshit, basically. And his father is passing away, so he's called back home. Of course, he comes back home, you never want to leave words unspoken if someone that you cared about is going to pass away. So Eddie comes back home to be with his family as his father passes. And his father says some words. His father basically says, look out for your brother Freddie, your old elder brother Freddie, because Freddie is a dumb fuck. Oh my God, Freddie's a dumb son of a bitch. Holy shit, Freddie's stupid. My God. Like, look, I love my siblings. But if my sibling was as stupid as Freddie was, I might have let that motherfucker die. Because goddamn, Freddie's stupid. Whew. His father won't lie when he told him, he's like, hey, look, your brother ain't gonna be able to survive without you, dude. It's like, okay. Either way, father passes away. So, of course, Eddie's all like, I'm not gonna get shit in this will. I left the family. My father and me had, we always have friction. So, I'm not gonna get shit, obviously. And turns out the father left Eddie with everything. Now obviously it's because, fuck his brother. He couldn't leave it with his fucking brother. His brother would do some stupid shit with it, as seen in the show multiple times. And, Eddie's like, oh shit. Eddie's like, I didn't want all this shit. Eddie's like, I don't really give a fuck. Like, I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask for this for the house or whatnot. Whatever. But whatever. But then his brother tells him that the reason he wanted the house, his brother Freddie, the reason that he wanted everything isn't for the title and all that other bullshit. It's because he's like $8 million in debt to some crime boss. So now he's like, shit, I gotta figure out a way to get $8 million up to save my brother's dumbass. Fine, turns out his father had a lot of money on hand, a lot of cash on hand. It was strange. Like, how the fuck he get all this cash? Enters this, I got her name off the top of my head. She was a very interesting character. Oh man, I just want to make sure I get it right. Susie. Susie Glass, of the Glass family. Enter Susie Glass. Turns out Susie is running the operation, this weed operation, on his father's land. That's where his father's been getting all this money from for years. And of course, they don't want anything to change because the operation is running smoothly. So Susie is trying to help him get this money. And what starts off, and you know, they do this job, shit happens, I don't want to spoil it for you, shit happens, and eventually they manage to pull the job off. Obviously, Eddie's like, yo, I don't want to be working with drug dealers, I don't want my family working with drug dealers, I don't want to be about this. But through the course of the first episode, in particular, Eddie has shown, and Susie and many others have seen, Eddie has a gift with this crime shit. You know, his military background, his background from being an aristocrat, has given him a perspective that really lends itself to him being the leader of a crime, to being a pretty big person in a criminal organization. He handles all the crime shit that they have to do with ease. He handles death with ease. He doesn't even blink an eye at that shit. Like, he handles all of it so easily that it comes to a point where Susie and her father, who actually runs the show, are basically like, he's too good for us to simply let him go. And what starts off as him just trying to save his dumbass brother and trying to get from underneath these drug dealers spins off into a litany of other things, and it's a fun watch of a show. I will tell you, it was so fun that I was supposed to go out and do some shit, and I ended up forgetting about it because I was watching the show. That's how fun this show is. It's dynamic, it's got the fight, it's got the dynamics that you imagine in a Guy Ritchie movie, only through a long form of storytelling. It has the tension because you don't really know what's gonna happen. You have a vibe of what's gonna happen, because throughout the course of the show, they repeatedly hit the fact that it's like, dude, Freddie, you were born to be a crime boss. Everything about you, from the fact that you can kill a man without flinching about it, from the fact that you can think, that you are street smart enough to know how people operate and how people think. You worked in the military, so you don't flinch when bullets start going off, and you don't flinch, and you got ice in your veins in general. Since you were a higher up, you know, not bureaucrat or whatever. Since you were a higher up in this kind of lifestyle, you know how to walk that lifestyle. You know how to work that lifestyle. You know, aristocrat. Since you were an aristocrat, you know how to operate in that upper crust world too. So it's like you were born to run this particular operation because you can walk in both worlds and you won't flinch. So. And they keep hitting that over and over again, obviously, and then there's this building thing between him and Susie, but they don't know. Susie's father made it clear that if he wants to get out, then she might have to kill him. And it's a lot of things going on here, other than him having to deal with this stupid ass brother who just makes mistake after mistake after mistake that leads to crazy shit, from a guy getting chopped up with a machete to him getting his pants stolen by a bunch of teenagers. Just a whole bunch of shit. Some guy gets his brains blown out. A lot of shit happens in this show. It's a dynamic show, it's an unpredictable show, and it's a fun-ass show. I would give The Gentleman, Netflix is The Gentleman, a 9 out of 10. Loved it, dude. Had a blast with this show. And if you're a fan of Guy Ritchie, particularly if you're a fan of the original Gentleman, do yourself a favor and check out The Gentleman on Netflix. Thank you guys again. I'll see you on the next one. Please remember, like and subscribe.